afternoon.
We are in Prestbury.
Yeah, just outside Cheltenham.
And it's reportedly one of the most haunted villages in Britain.
It is indeed. It's either top or it's second to...
Pluckley in Kent.
I think it's something like per square metre, most ghosts. There are an awful lot of them. We're going to try and tell you some stories about them and let you know what's going on here. Some really interesting ones, and been seen a few times, different places, and the place is beautiful as well, so enjoy the scenery.
Come for a stroll with us.
Yeah, enjoy us. This is quite a cool map that you can get to. It's like by the War Memorial just there, but it's got all different facts and figures, and also just here so you can see we're not totally making it up. So it's one of the most haunted villages in Great Britain.
Yeah, there's the Plough, which is really beautiful. We're going to take you there. We're going to take you to the Church of St Mary's.
Yes.
There's a poltergeist there, so
yes.
It's worth sticking
Spoiler
around.
What else we got? King's Arms.
Yeah.
King's Arms has also got some stuff attached to it. There's loads of stuff.
Absolutely. That big glob of bird poop as well.
Yeah, that's a haunted poop. It's quite near the races. There's a thing about a jockey as well. These are all like foreshadowing for what I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually quite a cool little reference if you do come here and you want to see what's here, because it's got the map here as well, so you can follow around. We are here. Boof, that's where we are. Well, we're not. We're actually here. But, you know, technically we're here.
So this is Sundial Cottage on the Burgage.
It is. Now the story with this one is that at the end of the 19th century, people could hear like sort of creepy spinet music. It's like a piano, a small piano, being played by a small girl, they say, and they could hear this happening even though there was no one in there. This was witnessed a few times, and then during, I think it was something to do with the war, Second World War, something. A mother and a child got housed in here. The child was complaining about the creepy music, and they were scared. They didn't want to be in that room, so the mother swapped around. You know, nonsense kid, but also heard the same thing. And they haven't heard anything for quite a long while, apparently, or seen, sorry, anything for quite a long while, but you can still hear this spinet piano creepy music coming every now and again, so it's
Yeah, so as Alex said, the figure of the girl hasn't been seen since the First World War, but music is reportedly still heard. We're now walking down the Burgage, which is the location of Prestbury's most famous ghosts, that of a white horse and of a medieval messenger. In 1471 he was riding down this road, which wasn't called the Burgage then, when he was shot in the chest with a single arrow. Now, in the 20th century, I've just got distracted by a beautiful dog. In the 20th century, they found a skeleton with a single arrowhead lodged by its sternum, which is really interesting. And we're just strolling past the Royal Oak now.
There we go.
And what's inside the Royal Oak?
The Royal Oak has got a picture of is it the Black Abbot?
The Black Abbot,
There's lots of stuff to remember about this place. So the Black Abbot is like another famous ghost that hangs out in the churchyard, I believe. Which we'll also check out.
We'll tell you the story of that and take you there shortly, but for now we're going to wander along to Mill Lane. So beautiful.
It's Burgage Close.
And here we are coming up to Mill Street.
Okay, so as we wander down Mill Lane, there's some stunning buildings again. There's so many nice things around there. This particular place, they said there were some marching men. Someone was walking, it was quite foggy, Tim Burton weather, and the dog apparently got down on its haunches and was like really sort of bothered, and the noise stopped and nothing came out of the fog, even though it sounded like a bunch of marching people. And that wasn't the only time either. It was witnessed by others too, so it's not just a one-off. So marching men around here down Mill Lane.
So the second reported haunting on Mill Lane is that of the charging horseman. During the Civil War, a royal dispatch was riding from Sundial Castle to Gloucester, and the Roundheads of Prestbury stretched a rope across the road. Knocking the cavalier off his horse, the rider was then quickly put to death by execution, and the ghostly outline of the horse and rider, accompanied by the sound of the horse's hooves, have been witnessed on more than one occasion.
So also down Mill Lane is one Mrs. Priest's ghost, and with this one there's like a misty figure, and apparently floats across the fields. The fields are kind of over that way-ish, and it doesn't say what wall, but it says it kind of comes towards the wall, and as it reaches the wall just kind of disappears and you don't see anything.
So this is the Plough Inn. It's a really lovely pub. You will need to book if you want to eat here. Local postman George Hudson Dove would often report hearing the sound of horses' hooves whilst he was doing his rounds, and he would pull over to the church wall to get out of the way of the horses, but there were never any horses. It was ghost horses. Local farmers have also said that it's a nightmare to get their livestock to even come up this road. They get really spooked and often refuse, saying spooky, spooky ghost horses.
Church Square.
Oh look, it's so cute.
Yes, cute. What's your name, fella?
Black Abbot has been seen by many people all over the village, but is often in this churchyard, usually around Easter and Christmas and All Saints' Day. We're actually coming up to Easter now.
We are.
But it's the middle of the day, so I don't think we're going to see black abs.
Is he related to Russ Abbott?
Maybe. But yeah, sometimes after a funeral he's been seen, described as a hooded figure with his head bowed. And he's always described as seeming to glide rather than walk.
Nice.
And I think that sounds a bit like a dementor.
It does. There we go, there's the entrance to the church. We're not going to go in there today. It's a really nice graveyard as well, doesn't it?
Beautiful.
I can see why he hangs out.
Imagine if he popped his head out from there.
Hello! Yeah, perhaps I always hope that we'll look back at this footage at some point and go, hang on a minute. Maybe this is the one. So we are heading down now from the churchyard to the King's Arms, which is a pub down here. And on the 1970s, I think it was Gold Cup, and it's Gold Cup next week as well, actually. It's the perfect time to be done. A group of 4 women saw someone dressed in jockey gear with a peak cap and everything on the road and walk across the road and just kind of disappear before they got any further along. And apparently it was then spotted walking across the other way a little bit later. I assume the same thing. So this is the pub just here. And then I guess he was heading over to Hair and Beauty.
He had a hat on, so he needn't have bothered.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, everything around here is really stunning.
A woman named Peggy Mayhew lived at the old post office as a child. She describes how a poltergeist would move things as often as 2 or 3 times a week. She and her brother would test it by putting items right at the back of the shelves, but they would still be on the floor the next day.
This butcher's used to be a hat shop, and it's on the same road actually as we saw the old post office thing. It's a poltergeist activity again, and this time when it's a hat shop, all the stuff used to be taken from the storeroom and put in a pile in the middle of the shop floor, which is like must be a hell of a thing to come into. And they also heard like sighs and weird groans and things when they were in the store. So it's a butcher's now, so it's different, but that's what used to happen.
Occurrences, apparitions, and footsteps, and lots of banging around there. And the house only changed hands when Mr. Cousin sadly passed away. It was bought by a family from London who started to do some alterations on the cottage. The ghosts obviously were not happy about them interfering with their stairs, and a poplar was hurled at the workmen that were there doing all of the alterations.
Yeah.
Also in the front garden was a burial ground for monks, which probably explains quite a lot of the hauntings. And then to the left of the property, those houses here that used to be a vicarage. And the Black Abbot is also seen around here quite often, and the vicarage had to be exorcised by the church. We're walking to Walnut Cottage now.
We are. Now, there was a Mr. Campbell used to live here, and he invited Mr. and Mrs. Sharp over some lovely tea and scones or whatever they had at that time. And Mr. Sharp left his pipe in the living room or the dining room area. He went back to fetch this said pipe, and there was a character stood there, and he said, "Hello, my name is Moses. I like to look in on her time to time." Obviously he realised that this person was obviously some sort of apparition. Went back in and said about this, and it turns out there was an odd job man who used to do things around the village called Moses, who had passed quite a time before, so he'd seen the ghost of Moses when he went to pick up his pipe.
He was looking after Mrs. Sharp, maybe.
Yes, absolutely, and you know, he saw this Moses stood there as clear as day, apparently.
Let's go and have a look at the cottage. So we are across the road from Sundial Cottage, which Alex told you the ghost story of earlier. Now, this is Prestbury House. It used to be the Prestbury House Hotel, and this is the Scouts headquarters, which used to be the stables of the Prestbury House Hotel. The Prestbury House Hotel has a haunting of a young girl who has been seen out and about by guests, and also the sound of hooves. It's no longer a stables unless it's Scouts with coconuts. It's ghostly horses. One thing that I'm finding really interesting about Prestbury is the amount of reported exorcisms. You don't often hear about that.
No.
And one thing that we were just chatting about was the fact that this is called St Mary's. And we went to St Mary's in Fairford, didn't we?
We did indeed, to see, was that Demon Glass?
It was the Demon Glass, and they have in their graveyard a grave for Tiddles, the church cat.
The church cat. You can check out that video as well if you wish to.
So these are the almshouses.
They are. Now these ones, and this is a bit creepy, I feel. There's been stories of a little old lady in sort of ancient dress peering through the windows at various times. It doesn't say, I assume it's still happening a bit because it doesn't say that it's stopped. So if you see someone sort of looking through the window, that could be what it is. So
the road is called Anne Goodridge Close. So I don't know if the old lady is Anne Goodridge, or if she's close for that matter.
She is if she's seen through the window.
At Itzel House, across the road here, a workman was pushed from behind in the basement of the house, although there was nobody else around. He was the only person in the room. There are other accounts of ghostly goings on throughout the property. A former resident didn't like to go in the room at the top of the stairs. They said that what she described as the apparition, so she wouldn't want to go in there in case she was greeted by the apparition.
Don't blame her one slice.
Dun dun, dun, dun. No,
That's weddings.
That's,
That's weddings. It's like, I don't know what you think about marriage, but yeah, that's the wrong one. It could be kind of that. The reason for that is we are on Southern Road. And on Southern Road, there wasn't a wedding, but there was a funeral procession, or so people thought. There was stories of a woman who was driving back to Cheltenham in her car, and she saw a funeral procession. It had like black horses, had everyone in their black gears, like, you know, how you would imagine it. She thought it was a bit unusual though, so she like stopped the car and turned round to have a look, and there was nothing there, even though she had seen it all, and it was all down here. So a funeral that went and poof into the ether. Some people have said that they've seen a ghostly apparition of a cat in a window. There it is. Spooky cat. Thank you very much for coming around Prestbury with us. There's an awful lot of stuff going on here, and hopefully you've enjoyed some of the tales we've told you and some of the scenic stuff as well.
We've had a really great time walking around. We will pop information in the box down below as to how to get hold of we'll put it on a PDF with all the postcodes and everything, so you can do your own ghost walk around Prestbury.
Yeah, absolutely, and see all the sights for yourself and see if you can spot anything that we didn't.
Don't forget to join the creepy crew.
Please do.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, take care. See you soon.